Okay, we're recording, and then I'm going to do a shared screen.
Yeah. Zoom meeting. Okay.
All right. Okay. This is the redo of the January 3rd mock jury, and I want to thank Rachel Morris for those great notes, detailed notes. So Sharon, introduce yourself.
Oh,
Hi,
no, not that again.
I'm Sharon McAllister. I'm the founder of Art Fest Fort Myers. And I was the director of it for 21 years. And now I have retired from that, but I'm still the board president. And I have conducted probably 25 juries, and I've attended at least that many more and talked to artists all the time about their images. And I love doing that so that they have the best possible chance to get in the shows that they want to be in.
All right, Barry.
Barry Bernstein. I've been doing art first for 40 years. I've done workshops. I've judged shows. I owned a part owner of a gallery for 10 years. I bought wholesale, bought retail, sold my work wholesale, sold my work retail, and I'm still chugging along.
Bonnie.
Bonnie Blanford, jeweler, or retired jeweler now. Did art fairs cross country for 43 years. I ran 3 art fairs. I'm running one currently. I've been a juror for dozens and dozens of shows, big shows, little shows. I think it's all about the work. But your booth image can make it or break it for you.
All right. Gemstones inlaid into sterling based on photos I took. I design, carve, cast, and inlay each piece.
Excellent artist statement.
And excellent images. They really show the work well. You can tell exactly what's happening.
Great images, very cohesive. Booth looks great.
Yeah, ditto. And the booth's pretty nice too. But the work is very good.
The one thing that I would add to the booth is on the left-hand wall, a long banner with, a couple of images, just to kind of balance the booth more. And that's really nitpicking.
Okay. I use glass and plexiglass as my canvas and utilize a reverse painting technique. The artwork is viewed from the unpainted front side. I use a variety of mediums, included acrylic paint and alcohol ink.
Cohesive work. The booth is shot as clean.
It's beautifully hung.
I think the booth shot is incredible and is a good example of how to get a mixture of sizes and shapes hung in one booth and not look messy or uncohesive. I mean, it's a really, really good job of display. I think she could tighten up this artist statement a little bit. I don't think there's a need for the second sentence that the artwork is viewed from the unpainted side. I think she could get that she uses acrylic paint and alcohol ink into that first sentence, so it's tighter.
I agree.
All right.
But it just, I wasn't done.
Okay.
But that is the epitome of a really good booth shot.
And the whole presentation, right? The matching sizes and the matching, there's one cohesive group of work. Sizes are the same. It's beautiful.
Really, really looks nice.
All right. When my brush strokes surprise me, I feel invigorated. Oil painting with dirty brushes makes me react to unexpected marks. I seek to capture the essence of motion. Both birds and waterfalls inspire me. I use alla prima and glazes in my paintings.
That's definitely the weak spot, is the
Statement.
artist statement. It's supposed to be technique and materials. These are emotional responses, which is not what they're asked for.
I agree.
I think there needs to be a good explanation of how this work's actually done, and I'm assuming that it's a painting application, not a mixed media application, but it'd be nice to know that from the discussion of what's in this, how this work gets done. But other than that, I think the presentation's nice.
And the one thing I really appreciate that the flip bin is in there, but I would like to see it a darker color, because it does tend to pop out in a not lovely way. But I want to see it in the booth image. And I very much appreciate that they put it in there.
All right.
Beautiful work.
Yes. Hand-painted solid birch spears using watercolor and acrylic paints. Sculptural stands are designed by the artist and 3D printed with polylactic acid infused with wood.
Yeah, now this statement is what I was talking about on the last one. This is what you want.
Yes.
Exactly.
You know, no
Now-
wasted words. The images are really nice. It's all cohesive. You know, it's the same style. You know, it's her work. We know it's a her, and the booth is nice too.
Now, we asked her,
Yeah.
she was in on one of the earlier juries, and we asked her to please join this one, because this is, in my opinion, it's the epitome of a beautiful booth that speaks to the work. I just absolutely love this. The work is beautiful. Her way of displaying it is beautiful. The artist statement is absolutely wonderful. Yeah, gold star.
All
And I
right.
think when she was in previously, she wasn't quite as tight and cohesive as it is now, and it's really gratifying to see her work. And I think that the greatness of this booth shot, not just for the booth shot for a jury, but this ought to sell awesome, because the tent looks so inviting and is so well displayed. I would think that even more important than jurying, it also produces great results for her.
Yeah, it's rare that you see the display itself mimic the work.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is just awesome.
I mean, I want to just walk in and look at everything and buy.
You want us to buy for you since you're not coming?
Yes.
All right.
Mhm.
Okay, acrylic paint, spray paint, gesso, and paper on cotton canvas. Impasto, misting, underpainting, stippling, and flicking techniques are used to create dimension, composition, and the color scheme intended and/or produced.
This is where the booth image is critical, because I had no idea that these pieces were this big.
Mm-hmm. And it's more of an impact big, and it's a clean booth.
Yes.
I think you have a totally different appreciation for this submission once you see that booth shot.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
if these were 8 by 8 inches or something, you'd have a totally different impression than the size of those in that booth.
Yeah. I think the artist statement needs some tightening up. It's just, there's too much.
It's borderline acceptable, right?
At least it's about technique, but without
Yeah.
the rest. But it could be a little bit tighter. I'm not sure we need to hear all of its process.
Right, right. All right. Opposed to photographing mountains from down low, I shoot where few dare to go. The highest peaks at first light. I climb for hours in the night to shoot sunrise from a summit, capturing rare compositions from up high. Without the aid of drones or aircraft, I carry all my climbing and camera gear.
Well, I love the fact that he put in that he doesn't use a drone. And I think what we have said before is that that needs to be highlighted at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think my comment was that it should start off with that, you know, that this is shot from high peak without the aid of a drone or aircraft, like right up front, so that
Yeah,
people don't think that from the beginning, because you would tend to assume that if he didn't say it outright.
And
Yeah.
reverse the third and fourth image so you have a more balanced presentation.
correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And the booth shot is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that he's bought a double trim line, and he's going to be doing, and he's buying another set of pro panels, so he's going to be doing double booths from now on.
Yeah. And I said lower the that back panel about 6 inches. I thought it was a little too high up. But that's
Yeah,
just
and
me.
actually, and the left wall, line up the tops all the way around.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, now, Larry, I know you have a thing about lining up the tops. I like them when they're offset like that. I'm
Of
sorry.
course.
Well, of
I
course, I'm
think it
gonna.
kind of depends on the amount of
Nice
the work, you know, when these are nice and big, and so the misalignment doesn't bother, that the different height doesn't bother me. If the work was small and then it starts to look all
Yes.
choppy, right?
I
But
agree.
these are big, so
Yeah, just absolutely beautiful.
lovely.
Solid glass panels fabricated from sheet glass with addition of thin rods or chunks of crushed fused glass. Flat panels are then fired again to become plates, platters, bowls, and other shapes.
Absolutely beautiful booth.
Yeah. Very clean.
Functional.
Yeah, great balance on the booth, and good representation of what's in the images is also in the booth.
There's a lot of pieces in there, but it's not too much.
Mhm.
No,
And they're displayed nicely.
Yes. I think
The
that's
work-
why it doesn't look like too much, because it's displayed well versus
Yeah.
just being lined up on a table, and then it starts to look flea markety, which this does not look because it's
Mhm.
No.
displayed well.
very, very nice.
All right. Primarily limited one-off designs using metalsmithing skills such as sawing, soldering, and bezel flush prong setting. Materials include sterling, brass, and semi-precious stones. Pieces typically oxidized and heavily textured manually with fused silver or reticulation. And she does not have a booth picture yet. She has not done shows.
Well, I think we had discussed that we would drop number 4 and put the booth
And put the
image
cuff,
bracelet in its
Yeah.
place.
Hey, Larry, what did I say on the notes?
I would
and reverse 1 and 2.
correct. And
So there's a bracelet on each end with the other two pieces in the middle.
yes. And I would work on, now I am looking at my notes.
I wonder if I can get this.
You didn't say anything on this, Barry.
I didn't?
Yeah, I think
Mm.
somebody mentioned that number 4 could look like a table stand.
Yeah, I said that.
Okay.
No, I did.
In
Anyway,
fact, if I had stands like that, I would make my pieces without flat bottoms and sit them in the stand.
Um, the artist statement is too wordy.
Yeah, tighten it up.
I said that I'm willing to help her on this if you want to send her to me.
You know, these statements, it isn't just like you can just write it and it's and you get it right. They really
no.
take reworking them and figuring it out, to make it very concise.
And it's really hard sometimes to write your own well the first time. Sometimes, you
Well,
need to give to somebody else and let them pick it apart.
Yeah.
And then you can see where you may not like what they did, but you can see where you can take yours.
right.
Can I enter an anecdote that, of my experience in this? Yes or no? Can
Yeah,
I say?
go.
Oh, okay. Well, I took about 10 years ago, I took a, a ceramics class at Northern because I wanted to use the facilities because it's a great facility. And so he got me like being in their class. And one of the things they had to do was they had to write all these things, bio, artist statement, CV, skill set, and all this. And he would he would like rip mine apart always. So I would purposely write a rambling thing just so he would, he was going to do it anyway. So he did it. But the result was, in the end, he really got me down to figuring out, just add the specific things that you need to say and leave out all the other stuff out. So it was really good practice, and it was really good to have somebody actually look at that and say, well, this is what you need, this is what you do. And so it's important, to have. It would be great to have somebody help you work on these things, and you have to modify. You have to change them a lot. So to get
well,
it
I
good.
think that's an advantage of the shows that keep the number of characters allowed tight versus saying, oh, you can have 500 or 1,000 or whatever Zap's top limits are now. Because it forces you to write it tight. So then when, hopefully,
Right.
hopefully. So then if one's done that work to write it tight, just because another show allows 500 word letters and you've got a good one at 200, just use the 200. Don't
yeah.
add the rambling on. Just
Exactly.
Yeah.
go with your
Yeah.
nice, solid, short statement.
Mhm.
All right.
Well, as a juror, if someone is reading the artist statements, you tend to kind of fade out halfway through if it's a long one.
Yep.
Okay. I use cameras with lenses from very wide to very long. The photographs are processed with image enhancing applications before archival printing.
Image number 2 should be image number 1. That's my first immediate.
And then I think image number 4 should go away and pick something from the booth that is the same concept of what's up here with the other 3, both
And a
in
better-
shape and format.
And a better bin.
And better bin. And I think we also talked about the booth, that doing some rehanging and arranging by concept and subject would be stronger, because this
Mhm.
artist has a lot of variety in this work, which may be their desire and maybe a newer artist, but arranging it by subject would give more cohesion to the tent, both for the sake of jury and for the sake of selling.
And get rid of the sandwich board.
Right.
Yep.
What I said was, this person's trying to cover all the bases, something for everybody. And I think it's better to show your own style, your own concept of what the photography should look like. So not one snow scene, one whatever, water, you know.
Well,
And if
as
someone's
they,
developing, sorry, Bonnie.
as they get more experience, they'll find their own voice and they'll
Yeah.
find what works best for them.
That's
But
what I'm saying, that in the meantime, right, they
Yeah.
can improve by the way it's hung while they're going towards their own voice and their own collection.
exactly.
Yeah, some of it
And-
is it takes place if you have a good college instructor, because that's one of the things that my instructor harped on, that develop your own style.
Yes.
You know, and you only do that by practice and working. You kind of get to that point after a while. You figure out what you want to say, and then that's what you say.
Mhm.
You know, saying something instead of taking like photographers. It's like not what I did on my summer vacation, but I want to say this about photography, and that's what you do, or whatever your medium is.
We had made the note about photoshopping the dead grass or the dirt.
And I think the booth is sloppy.
Yeah, I think I said as long as they were rearranging the imagery and using image enhancing applications, they might as well take care of the green grass.
Yes.
All right. My work is fabricated using metalsmith techniques, using wire and sheet sterling, fine silver, gold, and precious stones. Each piece tells a story of me creating beautiful and functional jewelry.
This one had a long conversation.
It did.
A beautiful, cohesive group of 4 images. That
Mhm.
said, they're really dark.
And that said, we don't see them in the booth.
No.
So makes you ask a question, and when in your head, and when jewelry is such a competitive category,
Mhm.
getting questions in your head is probably not a good thing. And then it needs to be clear that, so maybe those images on the back wall need to be the red, if the red is his or her most predominant work.
Yeah, and I didn't like the banner in the front,
Right.
because I thought it was that's where your eyes go. When it shouldn't be the banners, it should be the work. Everything should kind of be invisible except for the work, and that should stand out.
Well, I had originally said that I liked that, and I totally changed my mind. And I agree with Barry that it doesn't work. But what really doesn't work for me is that the 4 images look nothing like
Right.
the 3 colored images in the booth. And if you expand the booth shot, red is not a predominant, or even, you don't see any red in the booth shot.
And actually I commented, if the individual jewelry images were lighter, they might look more like the posters that are hanging in the booth.
But they're different stones.
Well,
Right.
So you can't, that doesn't work. Lighter won't change the stones.
And maybe she's changing her work, to use a different stone, or was using one, or is now using red, or whatever that might be in the evolution, but
Yeah.
there still needs to be a cohesion between that and the booth.
yeah, but there's another issue, is you don't want to duplicate your jewelry images as posters.
Mhm.
I mean, you could use the posters to show the jurors you make more than just those 4 images.
Why don't you want to duplicate your?
Because it gives you a chance to show extra work to the jurors.
I
And
always
what if it was
use,
some- Sorry, Bonnie.
I always used because I took my favorite images, whether they weren't necessarily my showpieces or anything like that.
Mhm.
And those were the images that I put in my booth, and more than likely they were my jury images as well. And I did get dinged one year when I didn't do that, because my jury images did not match the
Like,
pictures on the wall.
like this.
Kind of like
Mhm.
this.
Yep. Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I heard from a
I
couple
think-
people. You can leave this up. No, you can, but you can go. I heard from a couple people. I heard from the jeweler and this person afterwards. And they thanked me for what we said. So we got some good compliments.
What jeweler?
That last jeweler.
Oh, okay.
I think the only other thing we did say about that last jeweler, if you go back just for a second, Larry, was back on the artist statement, that she doesn't need that last sentence.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
The first
Yeah.
sentence is all that's needed here.
You have to be very
Yeah.
careful to not put your emotional
Mhm.
response into
Right.
this. It's basically a cut and dried how I did this and what materials I used.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Reductive sculpture carving from single blocks of green wood. I work alone from gathering my logs through the final coat of hand-rubbed wax. I'm inspired by nature and its efficiency in design.
I would lose the last sentence.
Right.
Other than that, I think this is perfection.
Yeah, this was the best booth that we looked at, I believe. And I didn't really say anything about the images, but to the person afterwards who asked me, I don't particularly. I would lose the third piece. I would do a more dramatic piece. That's just me.
I would tend to agree. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, cohesive grouping, but I got an email from him, but I hadn't responded until I wanted to respond.
Yeah,
I
the third.
got an email from him too.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to be talked about maybe in another session. Because I think you could change out number 3 for something more dramatic. That would be
Right.
great, but also the same shape or the same format of the image.
Yeah.
Or not, because I think this is a gorgeous jury submission.
Yes.
And I can't conceive of quite a better one. And I was a little disturbed by some of the reaction, not the reaction he had, but reaction to his image. I think this is stunning.
One thing, see, I know the work really well, and one thing that I think that stands out with the work that you don't see in these images is that the feet, these two middle pieces, they all have they have feet, and and if you looked at it, instead of having it curved and doing it from the top, but saw it from the side and actually got to see, just lower the camera so you see the feet, you get a little different view of what you're actually looking at. And to me,
Oh,
I've always
you
liked
can
it.
see the feet in the image.
Well, not
Little bit.
exactly.
A little bit.
Look in the booth shot at the one under the triptych in the
Yeah.
on the wall. You see the 2 feet there? Yeah, so you can
Yeah.
blow that up. To me, that really adds to the piece. And you notice all the other ones have the same thing, but you don't see it with
Yeah.
that one piece. So
Stunning.
yeah.
Media images are created using layers of acrylic, hand-painted papers, graphite, and ink on canvas, paper, and wood panel surfaces. The work is about overcoming life's challenges.
I think one of our conversations was this is clearly a mixed media submission. Is that right, Larry?
Yes.
Given the description, right?
Yes.
So that perhaps it should start out saying mixed media images are created using.
Oh, I think they pointed out that either they missed it or I missed that word.
Right, I think
Putting it-
so,
Yeah.
in the chat, right, so it says
Oh.
mixed media images, blah, 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 and then lose the last sentence.
Yeah.
Right,
Other
but
than
it
that,
still runs on.
And I would drop the last line too.
that's an emotion one, right, so,
Yeah.
Yes.
other than that, the images are great and they're nice presented and,
Yeah, it's a very well pulled together
Yeah.
submission. I mean, all the way around. And the booth image, I mean, and that's what a flip bin should look like.
built in almost, right? If I
Yeah.
was gonna be really picky, I might say to move that, I think it was image number 3, I think, Larry. Yeah, 3 and 1. So that you
I
have
would
nice,
agree.
they have that same whimsical, cool look on the 2 ends, and then the other 2 different kind of whimsy in the middle.
I agree with Sharon. Use number 3 as number 1.
All right.
Yes.
Fiber reactive dyes, hand stamped cotton, artist made accents create this hand wrapped fiber pottery
Well, Barry wants it called,
vessels.
Vessels,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not pottery.
That's
Fiber
what it is.
vessels.
'Cause I assume this is coming in the fiber category.
Correct.
beautiful,
Beautiful.
beautiful work.
Yeah. I mentioned that I just want to hang out in that booth all day, just sit in there and
Me
entertain
too.
people.
I mean, does that make you happy or what?
Yeah.
A nice mixture of the colors and the sizes and the display, how it's all laid out, kind of like a previous one we looked at where there was quite a bit of work, but it didn't look sloppy because the way it was so well displayed.
Right.
Well curated.
Yeah, well
It's
curated.
just, yeah, it's just really, really nice. And the artist statement is great.
Yep.
This booth makes me happy.
Which will help you score well.
Yep.
All right. Paintings, traditional in subject and technique using high quality materials. I pay close attention to the composition, light, and form to show the three-dimensionality of the subject. I use a combination of hard and soft edges in my brush strokes and glazing and blending techniques to help accomplish this.
Well, we can all agree she is an excellent. I call everybody a she, and I apologize if she is not a she.
Well, it does look
Excellent.
like it does look like a she,
Well, those flowers, excellent, excellent painter. But the rest needs a little work. Okay, Sharon.
Well, I was talking about curating the tent. I write the booth.
Yeah, me too. I
The
want to
work-
get in there and tear it apart and start all over.
And I actually have an email from her as well to talk to her tomorrow about arranging her tent. But she has so much beautiful work, and to figure, let's get it. I'm not sure it should all be in the same tent to start with, but if it is, it needs to be divided up on walls and get the collections together. Because otherwise it just looks kind of mismatchy with the different kinds of frames, and some of it is canvas wrapped and painted, and the difference in sizes, and so all that needs to be curated. And then we need to get, I think, rid of this table on the side,
And
Yeah.
maybe do some other way of, if she needs some of that over there, or just not have it at all. And certainly get rid of the rug
Yeah.
and the edge of this chair, or whatever it is in the lower right corner.
it's
Mhm.
probably her husband's knees.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that, but that could be. This has so much promise, and it reminded me of a story that experience we had this year. We had a very young artist who's just graduating from Ringling, apply to the show. And he sent his images in. He happened to be a friend or acquaintance of our community engagement manager who also graduated from Ringling. His images were horrible. He's a great painter, but his images were terrible and his booth was worse. It was just awful. He would have gotten maybe a score of 1 out of 7 from every juror. It was terrible. She talked to him about the way the images should be and how the booth should be laid out. He ended up scoring 28 out of 35 points. He got in without any question and didn't change his artwork, right? I mean, the artwork was the same. It was all the presentation. So this reminds me of that, of, whoa, we got great artwork happening here and let's just get this curating done. And
Now, Cher, did you say that this guy redid his booth or redid the thing so that it looked better in the
yes,
jury images?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, he did. I mean, because we give them opportunity to do that. And I think lots of shows do that when the images come in or if they ask for it. And he didn't ask, but she saw them and knew his name and was like, okay, this just isn't happening, and called him up. So, so very, very satisfying to see a young artist that now scored great, because he understood how to present it. So
I'm
we're
so
eager to see
glad
how
you-
he sells.
I'm so glad you did that. That will
It was
change
great.
his life.
Yes, it changes. It's life changing, right? For his pursuit of being a festival artist or a displaying artist anywhere. So I kind of
Yep.
feel that way about this artist. Oh, there is so much promise here.
Yep.
Okay, each glass piece is hand cut, sharp edges smooth, wrapped in copper foil and soldered. Heavy solder adds texture. Chemical reactions turn solder to a copper or black patina. Rolled edged glass is layered, stained glass created for windows, walls, and outdoors.
Well, the artist statement needs to be cut way back. That seems to be my thing this year.
And
Well,
Sharon
it's funny.
commented
That's
on
generally
white
the
paper.
first thing that needs to be worked on
Mhm.
by everybody.
Yeah.
And it's I think partly because I'm sure this, well, at least in our case, this description be read for the type of work it is. But like Bonnie said before, it gets to be blah, 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 blah when you listen to somebody read it, right? And so it needs to be pulled in nice and tight. And the same with reading, if somebody's reading it on the screen, if they read several hundred of them, it gets really tiring, and they just don't read. My other comment about this was asking Larry is if there's some other way to effectively show stained glass that doesn't require these white backgrounds, because these white backgrounds are blinding. If this is a projected jury, that would be blinding in the room.
Yes,
Wouldn't be so bad if it was a digital jury, but certainly
backlight.
Backlight, you said, right? Was so get
Yes.
it backlit so it can be put on a more gradient type of background or
Right.
different color background.
Right.
I'm looking at the artist statement, and I think that complete sentences work better than these little snippets.
Mhm.
And if you do that, then there'd be less because you'd only need a couple sentences.
Right.
What about the booth?
I think the other thing that mentioned is you feel the booth needs some more work on the back wall.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
talked about that and about the amount of work in the tent. And I think that some of the discussion then was depending on what kind of show the person's applying to and what stage they are in their career development of artwork. They may or may not have more work. I think
Yeah,
it might be interesting to know what's on that right-hand wall. I don't know whether that work that's on the right-hand wall is vibrant enough to go on the back wall. But if it were, would it give you a more cohesive look on that back wall where right now there's three pieces that are not related at all to each other.
It looks like it would.
Yeah, and they're running into the same issue with hanging the work on the wall. You don't get a feeling of backlighting.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't say anything about this booth because I don't know how I feel about it. It seems like it's missing something, but I can't tell you what it is.
I think you make a really interesting point, Larry, about the backlighting, and I don't know how to do that in the booth. I'm sure there's a way to do that,
Well,
but I see this problem with all stained glass. It's a problem, I think, for all of them to show that effect well.
the
Well,
way to do that is
he's-
to raise the tent side, so you just have the mesh wall there.
That would work.
But then you get distractions, visual distractions through the mesh.
Mhm.
Well, the other thing, having lots of friends that did stained glass at one time or another, is putting lighting. And let's face it, with the little LED lights now and mesh walls, you've got it made.
Mhm.
Just run some little LEDs between the
Oh,
canopy wall and the mesh wall.
Yeah,
Good
I think
idea.
you need the like booth, the tent walls or something behind the mesh walls because of wind. That stuff's gonna
Right.
shake in the wind, so you need to be able to block that.
Yeah, but
Right.
what Bonnie's saying is put them between that wall, right, and the mesh.
Exactly.
Brilliant,
Yeah,
brilliant. New LED would make that really pop.
Right.
And now that it's battery operated, that'll last for the whole day, right? To me, it's a no-brainer that every artist should have lights in their booth.
I
Everybody.
agree.
All right. Heirloom quality wood turnings using hand-selected domestic and imported hardwoods for their grain, beauty, and color. I create both utilitarian as well as delicate artistic pieces.
yeah.
Well-
I think we said switch 4 and 1
Yes.
and take some pieces out of the booth.
Well,
There's
we
too many
discovered
pieces.
that there were a lot of duplicates in the booth. Somebody
But
else did. I didn't.
But even if there wasn't duplicates, there's too much work, there's too many pieces there.
It doesn't make the pieces look as special as they are. You know, if you've put your blood, sweat, and tears into these pieces, treat them as such. Don't make them look like they've come out of the local factory.
I think perhaps just within this jury set, if one were to go back, if the artist were to go back in this recording and look at this booth display versus the glass that was early on, and then the fiber vessels,
Mhm. Yeah,
and really look
Yeah.
at the installation, the curation, the layout of both, and get some of that into this wood, it would really improve the booth image for jury and certainly for selling, so that it looks as special as it is.
Yeah. And you don't have to put out, you know, 3 of the same thing. If somebody wants more than one, they will ask you. I'm talking for the selling part.
Right.
yeah.
They will ask you if you have more of these. And then do you know how special it is when you get something out of the back just for them? Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
And I don't remember if we already said this, but this artist statement too could be tightened up. The heirloom quality, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Work the utilitarian, delicate, artistic into the sentence rather than making a separate line.
All right. I spread, drag, scrape, and scratch several layers of thick acrylic paint. onto my canvas with a palette knife, starting with a vibrant underpainting and adding details until the landscape unfolds.
I love this artist statement.
Tells you exactly what's what.
Ex-
Mhm.
I love the booth image.
Yeah.
It's clean. It shows off the work well. I want to
But-
trade image 2 and 3,
2 and 4.
2 and 4,
2 and 4.
2 and 4.
Or 1 and 3.
Right.
No,
Yeah,
No?
I still think the water is stronger on the two ends, but
Yeah, well, that's, oh, right, as opposed to the
2,
2 waters on the inside. Yeah,
yeah, 2 and 4.
you're right.
2 and 4. I'm mixing up my numbers.
All right.
This is, oh, just a minute.
Okay, go ahead.
This is just, I want to make sure that this artist knows this is really nice.
Really nice.
Okay.
All right. Hand fabricated jewelry using silver and gold with unique precious and semi-precious stones.
Mm.
The images are nice. The booth, it's you're too close to the action. It needs to back out to actually see what the booth would look like outside. I mean, it's not an outside shot, but to get that idea, you need to see more.
Mhm.
You need to back up a little.
Better cropping on some of the images.
Oh, yeah. I didn't. Somebody else said that. She tested that to me. I think you said that, Larry.
I did.
Yeah.
Again,
The jewelry's really nice. The butterfly needs better cropping. But I like the jewelry much better than the booth image.
I think we hypothesized that this may be an entry, a beginning participating artist, because this image looks like, the booth image looks like it was probably shot indoors in a house because you can see the baseboard and all that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so how to help this artist get a tent image going. Again, because of the jewelry competition, it's going to be tough on not being able to see that tent look.
Mhm.
Exactly.
If this artist is fortunate enough to live in Florida, she can get that set up pretty easily.
Mhm.
all right. Contemporary mixed media paintings with a focus on wildlife pattern, archetypes, and iconography using a buildup of multiple layers, incorporating techniques like cross-hatching, dry brushing, freehand drawing, ink splashing, and washes. Some incorporated hand-cut and colored paper collage. That's a long sentence.
Well, it's too wordy, of course.
Yeah.
The booth is nicely arranged. I wish it was an outdoor booth shot. But it looks nice.
Looks
Nice
cool.
work.
Yeah, very nice work.
And good arrangement of the different sizes, right? So it doesn't look
Yep.
cluttered.
It doesn't look thrown together. It looks deliberate.
Right.
Somebody spent some time thinking about that.
Or watching the previous mock Turing. All right, next. Painting on textured wood panels using fibers, glass beads, crushed marble, and other materials, followed by glazes of acrylic paint with bold, vibrant colors, creating a sense of movement and energy.
I gotta see what I said here.
I think what we said was this is beautifully done. The images make sense together. And the booth is very cohesive with the images above it. And nice and neat and clean and Bonnie's favorite kind of bin.
You bet.
Mine too, right? I mean, so it looks good. It doesn't, and it's not a tripping hazard. I mean, it just
No,
looks professional.
it's there. It doesn't stick out.
No.
You know, visually, this is just, it's beautiful work. It really looks nice.
Yep.
I have no issues with this at all.
I would reverse 3 and 4. I mean, 3 and 4 images.
Mhm.
So you have the two outer images have bolder color and are square.
And does the size difference, you have one that's smaller, does that bother anybody ever?
No,
Never.
Okay.
no. You mean the shape?
You got three that are the same size. I mean, approximately. Well, height, height. And then that last one that's kind of on its side. It's probably not on its side, but that's and I mean a lot of the images, you've got 4 images, so they're all some are different sizes, or you might have one that's a different size.
Okay, I'll go with Larry and switch 3 and 4.
Yeah.
It probably help.
I might put 3 at 1.
Hmm.
Well,
One
but,
at
and then
4.
move 1 to 4. Same
Yeah.
thing.
And then 4 to 3.
Squares on the end and others in the middle.
Right.
I really like that blue one as
Mhm.
number 1. It's also
Okay.
in the booth image.
Yeah. I
All
think
right.
that's the strongest image.
Boy, that's pretty good that's all we can come up with.
Yeah.
Well, wait, let's tear apart the
No, it looks great.
the artist statement.
Really,
We
really
have to do
Looks
some
great. No, it is great too.
Somebody should be very, very happy with this.
bold,
Movement.
vibrant colors, creating a sense of movement and energy.
Yeah, movement and
You don't need to say that.
right.
That's for the viewer to interpret, not to say that.
With glazes of acrylic paint, period.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
don't let your artist statement get in the way.
Handmade ceramic sculptures and planters in the shape of animals. Fire to cone 6 or with a crystalline glaze schedule.
Okay, we want to get rid of that last
Sentence.
sentence.
See, I don't mind the last sentence. It bothers me the schedule. Crystal. I mean, I get it. It's you have a schedule for the crystals because you're holding the kiln at a certain temperature to enlarge the crystals. But you don't have to say that. Just you don't need to. They're obviously going to have a schedule. So if you eliminated the schedule,
But
she's
I
just
don't,
telling it how she fires it. Okay, like that tells me something.
But that
Okay,
only
but-
works if there's a Potter on the jury.
Mhm.
as a juror, I honestly don't care what cone she's firing it.
Right.
Right.
Not when
Yeah,
I'm
see,
looking-
that's interesting to hear that, because that tells me what the technique is, because I don't know whether it's low fire, high fire, or medium fire. And when she says cone 6, oh, that's medium fire.
I think to the juror and the buyer, though, I don't care.
I don't either.
I mean, as long as it doesn't crumble because it wasn't fired at all or something, or the glaze comes off or whatever else
Yeah,
could
that
be
wouldn't
a
be
bad thing. I don't care.
Yeah. Okay.
A little
In the
bit
case
better.
of Raku, I care and about Raku, not that I care about the detail of how you do it, but I have had people, I've listened to potential buyers say, oh, well, the artist spray painted the pot. right, without them understanding it's a raku process, right? So there, I think it makes sense to say it's raku so that they know you didn't spray paint the pot.
Right.
Hopefully the jurors would know that, but buyers don't necessarily. But this fired cone 6 and crystal, the schedule thing,
Personally, I think juries know the least about clay than any of the other mediums.
I
I mean,
don't
I've
think,
had jurors come up to me at a show and ask me what it was what it was. And of course, me being a smart ass, I say, you're the jury and you don't know what you're looking at. You know, that didn't win me a prize, but
probably not.
you know,
Okay,
but I couldn't help myself.
yeah. The other
This is
thing
a
we
beautiful-
talked about is cutting off some of that white top of the tent.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It
Yeah, a little bit of
draws
white
your
top.
eye.
But the booth is nice.
booth is very pretty.
It's
Yeah.
clean. You can see everything.
Goes with the work. Yeah, if you just cut a little bit of that top off, it'd look great.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. I create maps using digital software. I draw boundaries, create shading, and delineate contours to highlight distinct features and topography. I print on quality canvas paper and do transfers to wood. And
The short
So-
version of this, because this was a long conversation too.
yeah, this one, there were two without the wood transfers.
Right, get rid of the wood transfers because it really
Yep.
weakens it. And get, rather than I create maps, start that thing off with maps. I mean, I think it really is important as people understand right away that these are maps so that they start to understand the art and why it's so
Yep.
cool, in my opinion, versus it's just a blob. If someone, oh, this is just a blob in this shape, why am I impressed? But when I realize it's a map. I think my comparison was it's in the same sense as travel photography, that makes you think of where you've been and you want a remembrance of that.
All right. Texture-rich, structural, one-of-a-kind statement jewelry, weaving together geometric and architectural forms found in the natural world, hand-fabricated in precious metals, detailed with cut and raw gemstones and pearls.
Now,
Okay, we wanted to remove statement.
Yes, yes. But I think I would remove that whole first kind of half sentence. Texture rich, structural one of a kind statement jewelry. You don't need to say that.
Texture.
You can look at the images in there, you see that they're one of a kind and you know it's jewelry and she's trying to make a statement. So you don't need to say that because you can see that. And that cuts down your your statement to closer to just getting at the meat of the crux of the biscuit.
Well, you could say hand fabric, geez, this is a word I know. Hand fabricated, texture rich.
Jewelry.
Jewelry weaving together geometric and architectural forms. Period.
Yes. Thank you. The jeweler who can't figure out what to say.
And then we discussed that the banners with that logo in the middle.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, another banner person.
Well, and that the conclusion ended up being that that banner in the front, it's below the cases, needs to go away. I imagine that in the real world that may be blocking some storage and things like that.
It is.
That would make sense, but for this
Yeah.
purpose, we don't need to see the storage anyway. So that banner could go away. I think Bonnie made the point that the earrings, if you're going to do a banner on the lower part there, use something stronger, use bigger pieces, stronger work than just the earrings.
Not your low end.
Right, get your high end stuff up
Yeah.
there. And I think I commented about in that banner that's on the back, another piece of jewelry could be put over that white box
Right. And
So-
what do you call it? The curtain bunched up in the corner in the back.
We did, and I think one of my other comments was about jewelers, that you see so many that use some kind of soft draping fabric, either totally across their back to help get rid of some of that white. Some of them do it all the way around. But I'd prefer to see it all the way across the back, so it helps make that banner stand out and the cases stand out. Again, it's this competition with jewelry. And I think I also said that it'd be nice to see those necklace stands, the neck stands, up on that, like one of them anyway, up on that central case. So it, in place of that white sign thing that's on the right, so that we can see that jewelry better than when it's on the side.
And Barry made a comment about the banner on the right-hand side drooping.
Mhm.
Yeah, straighten that up. Pull it tight at the top.
Well, I agree with everything.
And listen, you know that white banner down, that white square down at the bottom? Take a piece of, you can have a board that fits into the abstracta that size, and they have and you can they have clips, so you can clip it in there, and it actually looks cleaner.
Or
Fits
Velcro.
with,
Or
Huh?
Velcro. Something besides banner material.
Right. Okay,
Yeah, she's basically hiding storage.
Mhm.
right.
well, yeah, but you can, they make clips that, 4 clips in the corner, and it holds it in there.
Right.
Okay. My creative creatures are pure whimsical fun. I use salvaged backgrounds, adding my animals and textured fur, feathers made with palette knives and thick paint. Many have a steampunk vibe with found objects or 3D flowers made by piping paint. Vivid colors aid in expressing the animal's emotions.
I really liked this. I liked all the different, on the booth image, all the different shapes and textures, but the artist statement is way too wordy.
Mm-hmm. And there's plenty of unnecessary verbiage in there.
Yeah. But what a fun booth.
And she is like, she creates constantly. I follow her on Facebook. And every day there's new stuff.
Mhm.
That's fantastic. So what do we recommend for the artist statement? Okay, so we deep six the first sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Or we could keep the creative cultures using salvaged something, texture and fur. Get rid of a bunch of those words in there. We can get rid of the steampunk because someone should be able to tell that.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they can't, the images are cool and they don't identify the steampunk part. Maybe the piping paint's interesting. Vivid colors aiding expression of animals' emotion is not needed.
Don't tell me they're fun. Let me decide by looking at them whether they're fun or not. You don't have to tell me that.
I guess I would
Yeah.
leave it the steampunk vibe because that's really hot right now.
I wouldn't.
You might be able to work it into the sentence, right? Versus the many have steampunk vibe with blah blah. Instead, work it into that sentence above with the textured fur and feathers.
Right. I wouldn't leave it where it is, but
Yeah.
try to work it in.
And I don't think any of these have a steampunk vibe, so
That's okay. You're old. I think that's what I said.
Actually, I'm young because I know what steampunk is and where it came from, and I bet you none of you oldies know where that comes from.
Yeah, we had this discussion yesterday.
All right. A good,
All
good
right.
presentation, really good presentation.
Yeah, very, very nice.
Okay, to create my work, I utilize a device called a star tracker that moves my camera with the speed of the stars. I also use planning apps to know when and where the Milky Way and other celestial objects will be on what night. I then bring my photos through the digital darkroom of Lightroom and Photoshop, so the final image reflects the natural beauty of the moment I captured.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I would leave out the last sentence. It's not necessary. And use a different camera to shoot the shoot the booth shot because it looks like it goes on for miles. That's
Yeah,
an
that's that
exaggeration, but
Right.
wide angle effect.
yeah, you get the point. I get the point.
And actually, I pointed out yesterday that the images are
Mhm.
stronger when they're larger.
Hmm.
Yeah. The advantage of projected jury, but that's another
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
discussion. for
Well,
another day.
but to see this in a projected jury, the room has to be really dark.
Oh, well, yeah, of course. So the basic of projected, right? Dark room.
Really beautiful work.
Beautiful work.
You know,
Beautiful.
Sharon, you bring something up. I'd like to see what my work, what my images look like on a projected screen blown up because I kind of tend to stay away from the really darker images, which will actually lighten up on a bigger. So I'm wondering if my images wash out on that wall, those walls.
Hmm. I don't think so, as I recall, but yeah, so come on down. We're
I'll
open the
be
day
there in a
before.
few. It's less than 30 days away.
It is. No, I meant come on down during jury because we invite artists to watch their projected images.
Oh
We
yeah.
didn't do that this year because we had this hurricane problem that forced our jury to change, but
Okay,
I want to be one of the judges.
all right. High dynamic range photography using 3 to 7 images taken at different exposure levels and combined in software. The image is printed using archival materials and attached to a backer board. A textured finish and UV top coat are added to protect the print, add depth, and enhance the color.
I think part of the discussion was that we just need the first sentence.
Yes.
Um,
And you don't even have to say combined in software. If you know what high dynamic range photography is,
But
yeah, but somebody may not, so I
Well,
think it might be interesting that it says combined in software. I don't think they lose anything that way. But the archival material and backer board and UV finish and all that.
right?
Maybe there might be a buyer who wants to know all that information and discuss it, but the jury doesn't care about all that. They care about the fact that it was multiple images that were combined. And then it's presented really nicely in the tent.
it's so beautiful.
Beautiful work.
Beautiful
Cohesive,
work,
right?
beautifully displayed. Just really nice.
Just
Well done.
well done. Just tighten up that boost, that artist statement, and this guy's good to go. Woman,
Yep.
whoever, good to go.
I work primarily with silver and semi-precious stones using traditional techniques such as forging, casting, and stone setting to create unique and one-of-a-kind pieces.
I would lose the rug.
Yeah.
I love the pattern on the pedestals.
Yeah, I
think-
like the color combination of the booth. It's a little different. And the work's nice.
I still think, even though I got major pushback yesterday, I still want number 2 in the number 1 position.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, the booth looks good. If you lose the rug, I'd rather see grass.
Yeah.
There's
And
one.
even though it was photographed like angled way down,
Yeah.
it,
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Larry, what do you think of that? The angle of the, the photograph that has the pedestals kind of bowed in, and they probably go straight back, but
well,
the camera makes it look like it's at a V, or
if
maybe it is at a V.
if the original picture was shot outside the tent,
Yeah.
everything could be squared up, but you'd still be looking down, but it wouldn't be leaning out on the
Mhm.
sides, because that can be fixed.
Okay, that doesn't bother me in the least.
Right, and it didn't yesterday either.
No.
I think one of the advantages to the way that shot is that you can actually see what's on those display pieces.
Right.
Exactly.
Versus when you look at, totally squared up,
Mhm.
you just
You
see the
can't.
side of the black neck, right? You don't see what's on them. So I think that's actually a pretty clever way to do that.
And I have to say, I like the tall, skinny
Mhm. Mhm.
in the back, the skinny necks. I don't know what they're.
Mhm.
Thank you. I like the height that it gives the back of the booth. Yeah, this looks very nice.
Yeah.
And so much jewelry so flat,
Yes. Good job.
Stylized drawing of Midwest birds, hand-drawn pen and ink over liquid acrylic paints on paper artboard.
Yes to the artist statement. Beautiful work, beautiful booth. Why are they here?
to show off how great they are and get confirmation for how
Well,
great they are, right? They're beautiful, beautifully
Re-
done.
Really, really nice.
All right.
Yeah.
You can't say anything better than that.
No,
Boy, if I can't pick on your artist statement.
Okay, I use kumihimo and an ancient Japanese braiding technique. I braid 28 to 30 gauge enameled copper, fine silver, brass, and bare copper. The braid is formed, cut, soldered, inlaid in resin, combined with polymer clay, or molded and cast in fine silver metal clay.
That's a lot of words, but
It
you
tells
kind
the
of,
technique.
because I've never heard of this before.
I think some of them, if they were cropped tighter, the pieces would be larger and easier to see the detail.
Yeah, you have to enlarge each piece to actually see that really great weaving that she's talking about on the inside, and that kind of changes everything.
Yeah.
And,
For the
and
positive.
also it washes out on the white.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I have slightly different opinions than I probably did yesterday. I would, can you hold still? Making me dizzy here. I need to see the 4 images, please. Okay. I want number 1 and 4 switched.
I agree.
Oh, I forgot. You can't do that. Okay. Sorry. Could you do that, Larry?
No, I can't do it now.
I realize I wanted you to.
Oh,
Yeah, I'd like 1 and 4 switched because it's easier to see the weaving on number 4, I think.
Yeah, then you get that point across earlier, right?
Exactly.
Do that and crop it a little bit so you get a little bit bigger image. You can get a little bit
Yeah.
more of that.
Mhm. maybe a gradient change background, light with the pieces lit.
You
Yeah,
really
and
wanna
I
get
think
that weaving shown off.
can't people do that with, like a click of a button now?
Mhm.
No.
Not according to Larry. These have to be sent to Larry so that he can shoot them
Mhm.
properly.
Well, I don't know. That's not my area. And the booth, obviously, somebody probably just starting,
Mhm.
but
Hmm.
that's a good start.
Yeah, there's good elevation and variety in the way it's
Yeah.
displayed, that part, and doesn't look like just a lot of stuff on the table. I mean, it's displayed really well. It'd be nice if it could have a little more dimension, but if they're just starting, and then that goes to the point of where they're applying, right? So if they're just starting or applying at whatever level, this may be great. And
And
don't
they
want
invest
to
in
discourage
pro
people.
panels.
It's
Pardon me?
better. It's better than my first start or
Oh,
early.
God.
Hey, next time we do a mock jury, I have a booth picture of my own from 1978.
Well, I can give you my 1976 booth shot.
I think that would be fun. We ought to have some what it was, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
throwback.
Hey, well, I can't give
Or-
you oh, maybe I can. Maybe I can find one. But my first show was a disaster. Actually, it rained and it saved me because I had no idea. I had a table. I had like handmade tables with covered with cloth, and the work was on the cloth. No tent, no nothing.
Well, yeah.
And
It was a different day.
the Flint Art Fair.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I can even
Wow.
tell you who won best in show.
So I think that's probably all for this person, right?
Yes,
Some good
Mhm.
cropping and a little bit of tightening on their statement and swatch
yes,
number one over with 4.
yeah. Okay. Landscapes and outdoor scenes across Colorado, the US, and international locations. My work is all digital. The editing of my images is intended to bring out the natural beauty of each location using adjustments like exposure, highlights, shadows, and saturation, not to alter the image by compositing. All work is signed and numbered limited edition. Never use the word photography or camera or photograph.
Mhm.
I would, on the front wall where the triptych is, I would move the 2 images that are below the triptych somewhere else.
Mhm.
Lower the triptych a little and let it breathe.
Yes,
Mhm.
Let it have that whole wall.
Mhm.
The piece is gorgeous.
Mhm.
Let someone imagine that on their own wall. And I don't
Mhm.
think they'll be able to do that with the other 2 pieces competing with it.
Mhm.
they
It's
yeah they
called
run together
interference.
visually.
Yeah.
And they
Right.
could use those other 2 that are below to give more strength to that left wall and reconsider how that left wall and the back wall are laid out.
Yes.
Get the power better.
Mhm.
Because there's quite a difference between the work that is on that front wall, those triptych and the 2 below it, and the rest of the work in the tent. So somehow you need to get that balanced up somehow. And
Again,
I'm with Bonnie. Let that triptych's what's going to drive the score. So let that
Yeah.
show off.
and again, this is someone who could benefit from someone that is really good at display.
Mhm.
And the 4 images could be more cohesive.
I think we decided that number 1 we didn't appreciate as much in that grouping.
Right.
Right.
And actually, number 4 would be a good, strong first image.
Yes, I agree.
And then needs a strong vertical or a strong horizontal. I could
Yeah.
argue both to be in the number 4 spot. And I think we also talked about the 2 probably wasn't strong enough.
Yes. Oh, simpler statement.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd start
it's
all over with the statement.
Colorado, US, and international. That's all
Who cares?
right.
Yeah.
And my work is all digital. What does that mean? Still
You know,
taken with the camera.
Nowadays, you would say if you did used a camera, um, a
Film.
film camera. Thank you. Yeah, I'm getting senile. A film camera, then that's what you would say because mostly everybody's camera is digital now. So, and if you used, if you used an iPhone, you could say, "Oh, I used an iPhone to take these," or a Samsung. Samsung has a nice camera,
But then you're
but
saying, yeah, because you're saying something that is integral to the work, that it's film camera or
right,
the skill of iPhones today.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people are just going to assume it's a digital camera. So there's no need to say that. And part of what I said yesterday is that since digital is a category,
That's right.
that means work that was done in the computer,
Mhm.
as opposed to digital photography.
Mhm.
This is confusing to me. Was this all created in the, because I would read it as, oh, I created this in the computer. Well, probably not, because those are photographs of a canyon. I mean, so it's confusing.
And you don't need to say all work is signed and numbered, limited
No,
edition.
well,
You know,
it's photography. Obviously it is. Well, it may not be numbered, but it's right. It's reproductions.
No, it's not.
Oh, another day, Larry.
Oh, I love
Don't
these guys.
get
I
very
love
started.
these.
Another day.
Photographs
Photographers are so
photographs
sensitive.
are not reproduction, but that could be another
I
argument.
love jerking their chain. It's
No,
great.
Larry started.
All
Moving
right.
on.
Okay, images evoking an emotional response from the viewer, such as a sense of awe viewing a grand landscape or wave of nostalgia viewing a recreated historical scene. And
Uh,
I think one of the things we said, the work is cohesive, but the first image is difficult to read.
I would switch 1 and 2.
Or replace one with a different image.
Oh, I like 1.
Okay,
It's just hard to read
right.
because it's so dark.
is it a night scene that's lit? So
Yeah,
yeah.
Yes.
But the artist statement doesn't say anything about technique and how they did it, or the materials they used. So so I'd scrap. You need to scrap. They need to scrap that, as far as I'm concerned. Start all over.
Yeah, how this is staged and, you know,
it looks like HDR, high dynamic range photography.
then talk about that and
Mhm.
staging and the creation of a nostalgic feel and that sort of thing. But I'm a Barry, start over again here on this artist statement.
Yes.
And then we also talked about how this booth, nicely squared up and gridded and all that for layout, but there's an awful lot of bin in it. So it would depend on where they were applying, whether all that bin is a really good idea.
Hey,
Certainly if they're going to have all that bin at the show, it has to be there. But again, consider where you're applying, because that's a lot of bin.
It's only one bin per 10 feet.
Well, that's true, but still a lot of bin.
It's
And-
also a lot of pieces on the wall.
Well,
Yeah.
but it's a 20-foot booth.
Yeah.
So
That's why they take 20-foot booths,
Mhm,
so
mhm.
they could hang a lot of work.
Right.
And In yesterday's comments, it was the same photographer.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
And then the comment was, what happened to the cohesion of the work? I mean, this is obviously a different body of work, but which is great, another body of work, but what happened to cohesion here, and what is the theme and voice going on here?
yeah, the first body of work is stronger.
Much
Mhm.
stronger. This doesn't, it doesn't work as well.
Mhm.
All right. Well, large images showing the beauty of nature printed on acrylic or metal, many in custom wood frames.
I think we covered
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
what we,
No consistency is what I said.
excuse me.
Next.
Sculptural jewelry that is balanced, bold, and luminous using traditional fabrication and forming techniques. I combine mixed precious metals, minerals, and gems with an emphasis on metal form and function. Designing happens at the bench and is largely fueled by instinct, intuition, and play.
Mm-hmm.
Drop the last sentence.
Yeah, drop the yeah.
Crop the image.
Drop. Oh, crop. Sorry.
Drop and crop.
Yes. Drop
Drop
the sentence, crop
last-
the images.
Right. But the booth looks neat.
Yeah.
Does.
love the work. Gorgeous booth. Gorgeous images. Why do you think the images need cropping?
Look at the ring. Look how much space there is on either side of it and at the top. I mean, the pendant has way too much chain on the right. The earrings, this is a case where the reflection takes up space that's not part of the piece. The second number 2 image. So that could be cropped also at the bottom. And the
Doesn't
number,
bother me in the least.
what?
It doesn't bother me in the least.
Well, but what happens when you crop it, the images get closer to square and they appear larger to the jurors.
I
So
think
they
also
become-
in this case, I agree with you, Larry, a lot of times on jewelry, that's the case. In this case, making that ring bigger to me makes it very disproportionate,
it might.
you know,
Yeah.
that, and do I want the proportion, but it's a ring, it's not a serving platter if it gets really big. It's a trade-off here. But
Well,
the
but
fact that 1 and 3 are similar in total size, and 2 and 4 are, I think, makes a nice balance of the work. So
I mean,
Yeah.
even number 1, I would crop it on the left and right side.
I could do that, make it square.
My problem is that I've had some of my rings have been cropped and they look absolutely huge against pieces that are actually 2, 3 times their size. And to me, it looks very weird. You know, like, what is that, a bracelet?
Mhm.
And then if so, it's a strange bracelet.
Right.
Okay, tighten up the artist statement, right? We said that.
Yes.
Eliminate the last sentence, definitely.
Mhm.
I think this is absolutely gorgeous.
All right. Mixed media art, which blends photography, digital art, and artificial intelligence generated images on archival photo paper with hand-drawn elements in gold leaf and artist-made metallic inks.
We talked about how great this artwork was and the
Mhm.
combination of digital and AI and photography and being
This
kind
is
of out there and
exciting.
starting. And this is this, and that the booth is nicely laid out for what this work is.
Mhm.
And then we had some conversation about how might be really cool if one of these was really large on that
Mhm.
French wall.
Right.
Mhm.
And we have a difference of opinion on the work, the kind of work that ought to be on that wall. I think that face ought to be blown up on that French wall, but that's just biggest attention getting ever. But
Yeah, and the
that's just my
faces.
choice about artwork. I mean, that's really not relevant.
Yeah.
If that's conceivable for her to do and really press the point with size could be.
I think I spoke to her or something, and she said that she had been considering making them larger, but had been afraid to or something, and now she's going to try.
Yeah, go for it with one piece.
And I think Sharon's right. I would do the face. It's just, this is really quite exciting.
Yeah.
And I love, yeah, I love all this.
And I could argue to put that face as number one or not. But the reason I would argue it for number one, well, it has nothing to do with the jury. It has to do with how some shows select or go through looking for art they're going to use in their promotional material and tend to be scroll on that first image. Not everybody, but might improve the chances of that. I can see that number two image that's there now. In some festivals, that would be all over it for their promo material.
Now, what if that was
Oh, excellent idea.
flipped so the face faces to the right and then moved into the number one position?
If that's the way the artwork is.
Well, the
I would
point
not
Could
flip.
be right, because it could print either way.
right. The point is you want
Mm-hmm.
to point your outer
Right.
images towards
Right.
the center.
Right. Yeah, I love that piece. So
I would switch it regardless of which way her nose is facing. I'd switch 1 and 2. I think Sharon has a very good point.
Yes.
This will be exciting to follow.
it will be.
All right. Whoops.
This is what is going to buy me.
Each piece is wheel thrown, hand altered, carved, piece, and parts are added. I attempt to put the joy and passion I have for the clay into each. My work is whimsical and full of movement. To finish the pieces, I use the raku firing process with a copper matte glaze. I am drawn to this firing technique because of its earthy feel, its immediacy, and its serendipitous nature.
So
Barry.
about half the statement to go away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the I attempt to put joy one, drawn to the firing technique. Kind of need the first sentence and then that third one about the process.
Yeah.
That's about it. We can tell that it's whimsical and fun and joyous.
Love the work. Love the booth.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, really, really nice.
Yeah.
All right. Beginning with sheets of diacrylic glass, which are cut, pieced, and fired a minimum of 2 times. My metal elements are hand forged through sawing, dapping, drilling, hammering, and texturing until the desired shapes and sizes are produced. Patinas may also be added to my metal elements.
Well, I said that I thought the work was well done.
Yeah.
And the booth was washed out.
Right.
Yeah,
talked
can you use a
about-
little bit?
Oh.
Go on.
Go ahead.
We talked about if you crop down the lip
Top.
of the top, just take the top down more.
Take the whole front off
Mhm.
of the
Yeah.
canopy.
Yep.
You'll still see it's a trim line.
But you at least get rid of some of that white.
But it's unfortunately it's washed out, but it's a really pretty booth
Mhm.
if you get to actually look at it, because the colors do pop out.
And actually, you can tell that it's washed out because the gray pro panel desks are washed out.
Mhm.
Well, no, they're the light gray.
Even light, I have light gray. They're darker than that.
But that could be enhanced, right? So we could. and
Yeah.
Maybe she gets a third image. I talked about that yesterday behind that display that's on the left. It'll be hidden by the work that is nicely stacked for dimension up, but at least to get some color on that white wall and not be quite so white. Because it is a beautiful booth. I mean, it's nicely displayed and different in height and all
It's
that.
clean.
Nice and clean.
It's I love that she went up so high
Mhm.
with it, because frankly, a lot of jewelry booths, and this is coming from a jeweler, a lot of jewelry booths are boring. And it's hard to, without using, busts, and don't get me on black velvet busts, it's hard to find interesting ways to add height. So I think she's done a good job.
Do you think these people are using these booth shots when they send images in?
What do you
What do
mean?
you mean?
What do you mean?
Okay. It reminded me of something. When Cindy Lyric ran St. Louis, she called me once. I used to use the American Craft Council indoor booth shot at an angle because that was actually the nicest image, because yes, it was indoors, so there was no elements, and it had a really nice gallery look, and I shot it at an angle. And she said, we don't want an indoor booth shot, and we don't want it at an angle. We want it shot straight up. And I had been using that booth shot for every show. And I that's when I changed and went outside, then I started shooting the actual booth in the at the show. Um, so like this is at an angle. Like most of these are indoors, and this is at an angle. So this is at an angle and indoors, which at St. Louis at that year, that would eliminate this boost shot.
No,
So
this is not indoors.
Outdoor.
it's not.
That's an outdoor booth, and
Yeah,
it's
but
just barely at an angle.
So zoom it back out, Larry, to the all images. I mean, that's clearly an outdoor booth.
yeah, but it looks like it's shot indoors.
No, it doesn't.
No,
Okay.
No,
It's reproduction.
All right, never mind.
and I would think if artists have a question about that they call and ask about this angle and corner and straight on stuff.
I mean, you see all three walls. There's nothing wrong with
Right.
this.
Okay.
And if it was a corner booth and shot from a corner and had one missing wall, I guess certainly all shows can do whatever they want, but at
Mhm.
some point it's like, really? I mean,
I
if it's
always,
slightly on an angle versus square,
I always suggest to artists to label it corner booth in the
if it
title.
is, yeah,
Yes.
but I think this looks great and we don't want to discourage the artists from.
no.
Other than cutting that top off a little bit.
All right. I use sterling silver, copper, gold, shakudo, shibuchi, and bronze in my work, but mostly silver and shakudo. Shakudo is a Japanese alloy of copper and yellow gold. I overlay it onto sterling silver. I split most of my time between my mixed metal work and fold forming, reticulation, drilling, and hammering texturing.
Well, I
Okay.
feel that number 3 to have the same color background. It used to be that you had to reshoot them. Now I feel better saying that because I know that people can change out backgrounds easily.
Well, if
I
you're
think
going
she's
to do
nice
that,
follow-
then you
work
nice
change.
follow-
Larry.
If you're going
Nice-
to do that, you change all four so they match perfectly.
Mhm.
Yes,
Get them all matched up. And I think we talked about putting that number 3 as number 1.
yes.
So that we have the two bigger, interesting things on the ends and the two long ones in the middle.
And I pointed out yesterday that those earrings on the right are look like a jigsaw puzzle.
Mhm.
And I hadn't even noticed.
Yeah, I noticed that. In fact, it is a jigsaw puzzle. She cut it out the same piece
Mhm.
because it fits in there.
Right.
I would send these pieces to Larry and have him shoot them. They could use a little better, just a little better professional photograph.
And then
Photographs.
Then that also
Mhm.
goes, no offense to Larry, but that also goes to where's this person's applying. Because if we look at this booth, this is an indoor show, obviously a convention center.
Mhm.
This type of layout with the pipe and drape and all that. And given that, this booth would be fine. It'd be nice if she trimmed it off and squared it up so that you're not looking at the two sides, but and maybe those images are fine, other than maybe changing the backgrounds. But if she's wanting to move on past that, or not on, move to something additional in her venues, then I would agree that jewelry needs to be reshot.
Do you think that artist statement down on the left has her name on it?
Probably.
So
It was-
does the booth.
Well, look at the
Oh, yeah,
back.
right. Sorry, that's right.
It's a trade show.
Forgot about that.
It was probably not planned as a jury picture.
Right.
Right. On the artist statement, cut the artist statement after yellow gold, remove onto sterling, eliminate the last line, maybe start with mixed metals, including.
Mhm.
Now, I'm
Another thing I would do is,
Yes,
she already says silver, copper, gold, shakudo, shibuki, bronze. So she doesn't have to say that, but mostly silver.
Right.
She's already said that. So after work, have a period, eliminate the rest of that sentence.
yes.
Mhm.
Is that it?
And we don't care if she splits her time between one or the other. It doesn't matter.
No. It only matters to her.
All right.
Well, folks, we're done.
Wow.
Excellent.
And before I stop recording, I want to thank you, the three of you, for saving my butt.
It's worth it, right? Because then the artists will be able to see.
Yes.
Larry, I'm gonna send you a bill for psychological help from yesterday after you called me and you were all uptight about it, and I'm saying,
Hey,
relax, it
I was
doesn't
up-
matter.
I was up all night last night worrying about this.
Oh,
Oh,
God,
no.
But we
totally
took care of you,
unnecessary.
right? So,
Just
We're
too
not
much
gonna let-
stuff going on.
all right. So we're still on for next Tuesday. We're not going to do this, but we're still on for next Tuesday for
Yeah,
questions.
for questions.
Okay.
And I'll put this up on YouTube tonight.
All
You know,
right.
we had a huge amount of comments from in the chat thing. Certainly way more than, the previous ones.
Mhm.
So people were interested and they liked, they liked what we said.
And there's
When,
been a good evolution of both the quality of the work that's come, not the quality of the work, the quality of what's coming in, right? And the nature of the chat questions, I think, has been more, and it's up leveling itself. And so I think hope that this is a really good exercise, not just a
Mhm.
case that we're getting different artists, but
Well, we're getting different artists, but it appears that a lot of the artists watched the first mock jury and they
Mhm.
learned from it,
Mhm.
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got a lot of those comments.
which
Yeah,
was
really
which was the
satisfying.
point of it.
I think
Really
we should
satisfying.
form.
I'm
Mhm.
so proud of the people that came back, that
Mhm.
listened to our comments and suggestions, and then came back and showed us.
Yeah, that's right. The improvements were all great,
Proud mama,
I
I think
know.
it'd be interesting to follow that, right? Does
Yeah.
that change if they would share that, okay, they applied to, these 20 shows or whatever in
Sure.
the past, and they didn't get into whoever that they wanted to get into, and now they've done differently, and oh, look, the difference in either getting in or not, or at least finding out the scores, because there might be shows where the competition is still so tough that even though they're much better, it's not them, it's just that the
Mhm.
numbers are so big,
Yeah.
Um,
I
because
think
there's
we
always
form a-
artists that don't get in they call us and say,
Yeah.
well, what do you what do you think? And we got nothing. I mean, there's no
It's
there's
a
no
coin flip.
reason. It's just the way it worked that year.
It's a coin
Other
flip.
times there are that, well, here's why. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, if
Terry,
you have 150 booths and you have 300 competent people, then
Right.
not everybody's going to get it. I
Right.
think we should form a consulting service and offer private, if they're willing to pay us with a private session, where they can hear the whole, everything.
uh,
Terry
Well-
Adams once told me that they always had enough high quality applications to fill 2 Cherry Creeks.
Yeah.
yeah, he said that all the time. That was, and I was just going to say that from him, that I'm sure they did, and we get enough. We couldn't fill 2 shows, but we could certainly fill another third. So with the same scores. So
Mhm.
all right,
All right.
I've been out all day. So
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks again, everybody.
all right, thank you.
Yeah, it was fun.
Um,
All right. Bye-bye.
okay, take
Later.
care.